We're going to talk a little bit about our capital campaign and other different things that are taking place as we start the campaign for the new facilities, and that's an exciting time. It's more than just a building that I want us to be reminded about. It is what we do, and it's a vehicle for how we do things. And that's a very exciting part for us. And so I want us to think a little bit about a guy who's kind of important to the New Testament, and his name is the Apostle Paul. If anybody's not heard of them, then we have a lot of catching up that you need to do on that one. But here's this guy named Paul, and he is sitting in prison. And while he was sitting in prison, he was giving thanks to God. Now think about the many times y'all were in prison. And how often did you give thanks to God for being there? Anybody? That's for the confession booth. I'm going to wait for that one later. I got a call from my brother's friend because my brother once again was in jail, and he said, "Hey man, we got to get your brother out." And I said, "What did he do this time?" And he told me what he did, and I says, "Well, I think he's in the place he needs to be." And he got mad at me, and I said, "Well, you know, it's not like he was marching with Martin Luther King or something." But it's a different reason for Paul being in prison. He was sharing, he was caring, he was doing the very things that Jesus asked him to do, and the repercussions for that in his time and his era and his culture was that he was going to spend some time in the slammer, kind of get that voice removed. And so there he was. But even in the midst of having his freedom taken away, he was able to be thankful. Now, what would he have to be thankful for? Anybody have a thought on that? You got your freedom taken away, and I think we in the States have something to say about the freedom that we love, huh? But that was taken away. So what in the world did he have to be thankful for? Good question, isn't it? You know, Paul had dedicated his life completely for the last probably 20, 30 years to really work with the life of people who did not know the God of Jesus Christ. And the God of Jesus Christ really impacted his life so much. It changed him completely as a person that he could not wait to share it with other people. He could not wait to take what Christ had given to him and give it to the lives of those who were lost, those who were seeking, those who had a poor understanding of who God was in their life, who did not know this God of this Jesus Christ. That excited him so much he could not help but share it with other people, and share it in such a way as to gather people and begin to equip them so that they can teach the people the good news of Christ. And while this life can impact your life like no other life in the history of this world. And there he was in this prison, just giving thanks for all the people who responded to him. To be able to see the joy in people's faces and lives changed all around him in churches. And one of his favorite places was the church in Ephesus. Those are some people that were messed up. They were lost. They were confused. They had no idea who God was, especially this God of Jesus Christ. So they've seen examples of God that were very poorly done. We've seen those, don't we? But they didn't know this God of this Jesus Christ. And so Paul invested his life to share that message and that understanding of who this God of goodness and grace, this God who forgives us, but not only that, can teach us how to love others the way that God loves us so that we can be an example of God in the world. That to me is so exciting. And so here is Paul sitting in this prison just thinking about all that he has done, even though his freedom had been taken away. And he would do it every single moment of every single day, even if it cost him his life, which it would eventually do. So in this church in Ephesus, it's a very, very strong church. They grabbed hold of what he was teaching, and they began to change and alter things so they could be relevant in the community in which they lived. And then he began to structure the church on how it should minister to the people. They didn't go to Bright Divinity School to get the preacher. Who were the preachers at that time? Yeah, I'm looking at them. Who were the ministers at that time? They didn't come from Bright. Where'd they come from? I'm looking at them too. Right? We've got this role reversal here. We're the stockbrokers and stockholders, and we sit there and stare at the preacher and see what we can do to grow, and if we don't grow, we go get another one. We go down that Bright store, get us another one of them preachers. Get one down there like growing patch on his head. But he structured it differently. Folks, I'm not going to be around here forever. So here's what you need to do. You need to find where those spiritual gifts lie within you. And if you're a profound prophet, where you can see things that nobody else can see, if you're a great teacher, if you can understand the faith, then what you need to do is get out there and find those people and help them learn and discover the difference between the life that they are trying to get away from and the life that Christ is trying to lead you. You are the ministers of Jesus Christ. Like it or not, you are being called. And until the church of Jesus Christ realizes that, we're going nowhere. And the way it looks at it, the way it looks now, we're getting there fast. So I want you to hear these words of Paul as he speaks to the church while he's in prison. And hear the words that he has to say. The gifts that Jesus gave were that some people would be apostles, some would be prophets, some would be evangelists, some would be pastors, some would be teachers. Why? To equip the saints for the work of ministry, for the building up of the body of Christ, until we all come to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to maturity, to the measure of the full stature of Christ. Here's a tough one. We must no longer be children. Ouch. We are tossed to and fro and blown about by every wind of doctrine, by people's trickery, by their craftiness and deceitful scheming. But speaking the truth in love, we must grow up in every way into Him who is the head, into Christ, from whom the whole body joined and knitted together with every ligament with which it is equipped, as each part is working properly, promoting the body's growth and building itself up in love. That is a healthy church. We're in some real exciting times as a people of God, and living our life in the United States of America. It is really, really exciting to me. It used to bring a lot of anxiety because I couldn't understand it. Heard about what was going on for 25 years, and now it's really starting to happen. And the changes that are taking place are something we cannot stop. I'm sorry. And so you know what that means? We just got to go with the flow. We just got to move in the direction where the people are going and where God is leading us. And that's a very difficult thing to do, but at the same time, it is extremely exciting, because what is happening is that the church is being resurrected again. And the meaning and value of the church is being resurrected again. And the relevance of the church is being resurrected again. People are seeking things that they really don't know that the church can fulfill. And so who's responsible for sharing that information with people in a loving and caring way and build those relationships? Thank you. I don't know if that was a burp or someone saying us. Indigestion, I know it brings that about a lot of us. So we got a lot of things we have to adjust and learn because there's so many different things that are important about the gospel, and we've always emphasized one or two certain things while people are needing the other things to be emphasized. And we're going to talk a little bit about that through this series about what it means to be a church. It's not just a building. And that's important. So there's a lot of changes that are taking place in this country, a lot that are exciting and new and wonderful. And that also means that we're going to have to make some adjustments. That means that we've got to say, it's not about me. Oh, it's not what I want. Oh, right? Has anybody ever said that before? No? No. We're going to practice that, okay? It's not about me. That was very weak. And one more time. It's not about me. It's not what I want. It's what Christ needs. It's what Christ needs from me. It's what Christ needs from us. And there's never been a time in our history of the United States of America where people were so lost and so confused and had such a horrible view of who God is. Are you one of them? No. Who are they? They're everywhere. Probably closer to 80 to 85% of the people are that way. In this nation. It used to be the other way around, remember? Remember when you were young? Yesterday? When we were growing up as baby boomers, there was 80% of the people not out there, but where? In here. So the church emphasis is a little bit different, right? When everyone's going to church, are you going out there and talking about church? No. Because the church is going here on Sunday. Everyone goes to church on Sundays, right? Now what happens when that number has switched all the way around? Well, now only 20% of people are in church. You just can't sit and gather and slap each other on the back and rub each other's head anymore, is it? Because those numbers are going down. So somehow, some way, we've got to learn how to be church where? Everywhere in the community. We have to learn what it is about our relationship in this place with God and with each other that is so much more important that people will stop doing what they're doing and take a look. Do you know the answer to that question? Most of us do not. It takes a lot of us to kind of figure that part out. And that's what we've been trying to do on this journey, is try to figure that part out. Now, if you're up there, you're probably wondering, where are you in this sermon? Yeah. Hang in there, buddy. Let's go back to square one. These are exciting times. Real exciting. Because there's a couple of things that we're doing. The first thing is what? Does $4 million sound like a lot? All right, have you seen our deficit? It's a drop in the bucket, people, right? Yeah, if we look at that and say, is that too much for me to raise? Yeah, it is for much for you to raise. That's a good thing. The church isn't about who? Yeah, it's not about me, is it? Is it much for us to raise? Question is, well, if it's what God needs us to do, guess what we're going to do? We're going to do it. There's crazier things that have happened in this world with people who didn't think they could do stuff, but God said, yeah, go ahead and do it. You heard a guy named Moses? Abraham? Anybody like that? Sarah? Joseph? You want me to go through the whole Bible and read it to you? Every one of them had one thing in common. I don't think we could do that. Every stinking one of them. We built Covet Hall. What was the first thing people said? We can't do that. It's too much money. It's not about who? It's not about me. The question we need to ask is, where is God leading us? Not, where do I think we need to go? This is not the church of the opinion, thank goodness. It's the church of Jesus Christ. That's a hard role to go through. So the first thing we're trying to do, I'm following, stay with me, brother. We're going to be here through lunch, I'm afraid. We're trying to raise money so that we can replace some buildings that are falling apart. This is one of them. And I'll tell you the history of the building, but we only have 2 hours. And also the children's wing, which is also really need a lot of work, and just basically both of them need to just come down. And we need to move on. And that's one of the things that we're doing. We're starting that campaign. The second thing we're doing is also, it's kind of a neat thing that we're starting to do, and it's on May 7th, is being church in the community. And that is something that's pretty neat. Once we started talking about this, it started really to go get a life of its own. And it's basically taking the time that we set aside for this time of worship, and instead of coming here to have our worship, we'll meet at 9, and then we go out into the community to serve, but also to bring worship to the community. Now, these two things coming together in the same time is a very, very good thing. because it really begins to emphasize who we are as a people. Taking church in the community is something that the church has forgotten how to do, simply because we never really had to do it. But now we do. And we have to learn how to go to people and serve them and help them understand who they are in the eyes of God and why it's important for them to understand that. So this is the first of many things we'll be doing with this church and community. And so the timing of these two events simultaneously could not be better. And so that's something that we're real excited about too. So I want us to pay attention to that as well. Now let's go back to the text that we looked at this morning, because what Paul was trying to emphasize to the people who have never experienced Jesus Christ before and began to take it was that there's two things he's trying to emphasize to them. One, don't go back to doing things you used to do. Don't do that. Don't get bored with the faith. Don't go back to doing things that everyone else in society does because we're different. Don't go back and do that. What you need to do is really begin to step up and put yourself together and creating opportunities for people to be helped through your love and through your touch. So when Paul organized the church, I think it was brilliant through this text. He did these things. He discovered those who are very, very devoted followers of Jesus Christ. Good job, Ryan. You found me. Okay, he found these devoted followers of Jesus Christ who are very spiritually gifted. And he used those people who understood God's vision for the people. When we talk about prophets, about seeing where God is going, seeing where God is leading us. It's seeing the tomorrows, not the todays. It's not about bringing gloom and doom to people's lives. It's about seeing where God needs us to be. And so he finds these people who are very good at seeing God's vision for the people. And he found people who knew how to share God's love and grace to the world. But he also discovered those who had a real gift for caring for others within their own places, in their times of need that they had. But they also found people who possessed this ability to teach and to instruct the unique qualities of the faith. These are strong leaders within the life of the church. And when all of these people come together and do the very things that we're asked to do, all of these gifted people gather for one single purpose, is to transform followers from being members, as we like to say, to being ministers. From being just ordinary people to being extraordinary people of God. They come together to do the works of Jesus Christ in the community, to build God's kingdom with our own hands and with our own minds, with the hearts that have been transformed by Christ. What we are building and seeking to build on this campus is not just a building. It is a ministry. A ministry that began over 100 years ago by a lot of faithful, devoted people who gathered together to build this place away from the other place for one purpose in mind. That was to continue the ministry of Jesus Christ through their efforts. It is our turn now to leave our legacy for generations to come. What it looks like, we don't know. But we're going to trust that God will reveal that to us. This is the purpose of this cross. Do not take those prayers lightly. Don't sign it and put it up there hoping people will see your name on it. If you're going to sign it and put it on there, you're going to pray every day for clarity. You're not going to say, do I want to do this? What you're going to pray for is, God, where are you leading us? What direction are we going? Reveal that to us. But more importantly, reveal to me where it is that you need me to do and what I am capable of doing. This is what we need from everyone who participates in the ministry of Jesus Christ. It's also a pledge that we have taken at our baptism. The moment we came out of those waters of baptism, we said to everybody else, I am now going to do the very things that Christ needs me to do. This is one of those moments where we are committing ourselves and pledging ourselves to do the very things that Christ needs us to do. In your prayer, you will find clarity as to what exactly that means. Now, I'm going to bring a little video in here because the kids put together a video for a lot of the things that took place, that they were asked the same questions about what it means to pledge and what it means to be a part of the life of the church. So I want you to look at those.
I love this church because it is awesome.
Okay. I love this church because everyone here is super nice and they always are very... Oh, dang it. How can I say that? They are very encouraging.
It's really fun and we get to do so many things.
It's really fun to participate in the activities here. It's also really fun to be taught about God and the things that He has done to help us in the ways that we can't imagine.
It's awesome and you have a lot of things to learn about.
Everyone is like really kind and that like everyone is always friends to each other, I guess.
It's really fun. We get to do a lot of stuff. Yeah, I guess it's just a really fun church.
Okay. If we had more buildings in space, I think we need some more room for choir.
Like fun activities and more fun games for children. 100 Bibles.
Just a room for meditating and praying to God.
Do more learning about God and nurseries and the space, like for more kitchen space and for more stage space, so people could perform and teach about God and stuff.
A new playground and a bigger space for the little kids to play.
Probably some more restrooms.
Is important because if you give money to the church, you'll be able to buy more stuff for the children to do.
Because we could have more things to do.
You give money to God.
Then the place will like collapse and like they won't be able to pay like the electric bill.
We can make new spaces and cool things with the money.
I think we can make this church a better place by giving more opportunities to teach about God and be taught about God and Jesus and His disciples and what they've done.
Making new buildings and putting together kids' games and all of that.
I think we can make this church a better place by sharing more emotions.
Giving more money or making sponsor shirts for the church so that we can spread our word.
Letting everyone be a part of what we do here.
Reading more Bible.
I think a pledge is an oath to a promise. To kind of like honor somebody.
I think a pledge is like making like a promise and like doing what you're supposed to without like being asked.
I think it means for one way, like the Pledge of Allegiance, and for the second way, believing in so many things.
I think a pledge is where you say, I know this is what I should do, and I will do it.
Good stuff. Forget that old saying, that's the future of the church. That is the church. So we need to be thinking that way and how we can reach out and do this more and participate more. The bottom line is this, is that there's a lot of work, and I think we all agree on this one. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in this world, not just in our own personal lives, but in this world. And when we focus on our own personal lives, then we don't get anything done. When we focus on the world around us, it's amazing how much we grow and develop as human beings, as children of God. And so there's a lot of stuff that needs to happen in this earth. And the only way that's going to happen, that God is going to make his mark on the world, is through, not 20% of y'all. I mean 100%. Everyone. That needs to happen. We have the responsibility to bring in the kingdom of God on this earth, just as it is in heaven. We pray it every Sunday. We have a responsibility to take what Christ has given to us in these gifts and to use them in a way that can actually capture people's imagination about what is possible in their life. If we don't believe it and you don't believe it, no one else is going to believe it. We have a responsibility to do. We have a pledge to do, not just to a building, but to a ministry. That we said to God when we were baptized, I'm all in. And there's no backing out. We need to do that. We need to participate in that. And there's nothing that emphasizes that more to me than what we see with this church and community. And next Sunday, right, Lynn? Next Sunday is Church and Community Day. So we're going to have a sign-up sheet out there for every one of you to sign up for. We're going to meet here at 9 o'clock. We're going to have a brief worship for about 10, 15 minutes and talk a little bit about the building campaign. And then we're going to gather up in our 6 groups, and we're going to take off, and we're going to set the world on fire, and each group is going to come back on their own and talk about what they experienced. Okay? You know what the groups are? I'm going to put a face to a name. I want to ask each group leader to stand up and tell real briefly what they are going to do, okay? Real briefly, Jack.